Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody. Please join to the September 14th, 2020 Board of Education regular meeting at 7:01 p.m. Brennan, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. King,
Here.
Ms. Reese,
Present.
Ms. Sebastian,
Here.
Mr. Elam,
Here.
Ms. Mansfield.
Here.
All right, if you all would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any additions to the agenda? Hearing none. Review of old business, we had none listed. I'm sure we can talk about 1,000 things as we continue to progress. So we'll go to number 4, which is hearing of the public regarding agenda items. This is specific to if there's anything on the agenda that you would like to ask about.
I do not have anything, Mr. King.
Okay. All right. Next up will be administrative reports. I'll turn it over to Mr. First.
First administrative report this evening will be from elementary principal, Ms. Jody Cutting.
Thank you, Mr. First. Just a couple things to share with the board this evening in regards to the elementary building. First of all, we'd like to congratulate a couple of employees that work at the elementary building from the Miami County Educational Service Center. They were nominated for the Employee of the Year Award amongst all those folks who work through the ESC. So we want to congratulate Aaron Bailey, who is our ESL, ELL teacher, one of them, and also Holly Smith, who is one of our intervention specialists. They were both nominated through the ESC for that award. So proud to have both of these people on our staff. Very, very deserving of the nomination for those awards. So congratulations to both of those ladies. I just wanted to update the board on behalf of Mrs. Roll and myself about the new student and family orientation that we did host this year. That was in August, early August, right before school was starting. This is the first time that we actually hosted a new student orientation within the time that I've been here. We hosted 2 sessions on Friday night and 2 on Saturday, trying to give parents a little bit more freedom. Very, very well attended. We presented a slide presentation on just some real basics about Bethel and the school district itself, and then also about some of the procedures and things that we thought that our families would be very interested in knowing about. After that, we gave families, we broke up into much smaller groups, and we gave them tours, and we provided just some information about the district in general. They got to see everything from all the way north to all the way south to all the way up to the second floor to all the way in the basement level. So that was kind of fun. We did want to give a special thank you to some elementary staff who volunteered to come and help us out with that so that we could take much smaller groups. So it got a little bit more personal and we were able to answer a lot more questions. Thank you to Mindy Campbell, Melissa Colt, Amy Navalino, Susan Keitel, and Mike Cage for their assistance. They did that willingly, and it really did help Mrs. Roll and I to have much smaller groups to take around. So felt like a much more personal feel. We tried to get some feedback from parents at the end of it. Very, very complimentary about the opportunity. Mrs. Roll and I feel strongly enough about it that we feel like we might want to continue to do this in the upcoming years, even if we have an open house, because it just gave them more of an opportunity to ask personal questions and that type of thing. So our intention is to possibly continue that, since we do have quite a few new students and families in the district. The last thing we wanted to update you on was our September Students of the Month. Those students have not been presented with awards yet. Mrs. Roll and I will be going to classrooms later this week. Typically, we have a Student of the Month breakfast for these students and their families. We are not able to do that this year due to some of the restrictions that we're trying to follow at this time. But we have partnered up with DJ Grill and Chill, which is one of our few local businesses that likes to partner with us, and we will be presenting each of those students with their certificate, with their sheet of accolades about the nice things that the teacher has said and the reasons why they've been nominated, and then also a coupon that will allow the students to go with their family to DJs and get a little treat with their family for being student of the month. So that was kind of our way of accommodating in a different manner. So we intend to proceed with that for the remainder of the year. If the COVID restrictions are lifted, we felt that we wanted to be fair across the board, because for some students to possibly be able to come to a breakfast with parents and others only get a coupon really doesn't seem fair to kids. And we just cannot accommodate that many people trying to make those up. So we're going to continue with that throughout the remainder of the school year, and then we'll look at the breakfast again next year. The only other things we have are just some upcoming events. Like I said, our Student of the Month Awards. Life Touch school pictures are going to be taking place next Tuesday. All students and staff will be getting a picture taken for the yearbook, but just to note that we have been in contact with our Option C virtual learning families. They are aware that we will be providing a time after school for them to bring their students up to have pictures taken from 4 to 6. We'll definitely have things marked. They know what door to come in, that type of thing, and we'll try to provide that opportunity for those families. My Option C learning teachers, they did get some information out, but I'm sure they'll be following up as a reminder as we get closer. I'm going to be sending out an email to them to make sure they get that to the Option C family. Spirit Week will be coming up not this week, but next. That's always a fun time for students. That's one of their favorite weeks of the year. We have a theme every day. We'll be getting out information on that at the end of this week. Interim reports are right around the corner, believe it or not, for Q1. We do send interim printed reports home with students only for those students who are struggling. We do not send them home to every single student. And parent-teacher conferences, and then, of course, our next round of Student Month is coming up in October. So those are our upcoming events. Just wanted to remind everybody that we are now on Instagram. We have a new Instagram account at Bethel_Elementary School Bees, and we are trying to keep things updated on that in a more personal level. We will continue to use the Bethel Local Schools Facebook page for informative type of things. So, working closely with Mrs. Mutlu on getting all those things accomplished. That's all I have for this evening. Unless you have some questions or comments, I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Ms. Cuddy. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, middle school principal, Mr. Tim Ziegler.
Yes, just wanted to update the board on, last month I had talked about enrollment and just how close enrollees and withdrawals are. We reported back here in August, and Mrs. Shout has enrolled now, as of Friday, 30 new enrollees. But we have now tracked down, there were a lot of kids that we didn't know where they were, had not reported yet. And so far, there have been 24 withdrawals. So we really only have a net gain of what we expected as 6 students, which is a little surprising. As you know, the middle school and the high school switched from Schoology to Progress Book to allow parents and students to access their grades. Information went out just this past week to parents and to students, and as a matter of fact, our English teachers helped all of our students either re-access their account or to create their account and to get into it. Because we did find out that while many parents have activated their account because that's how they access grades at the elementary, many students have never activated an account, so they needed a little help doing that. And hopefully, we have an access for parents to, if they can't do it themselves or don't remember to log in, give them information and call in and get that information from us. As Ms. Petty said, We are also having school pictures taken this Friday. She's next week, but we're this Friday. And our photographer was not going to stay after school. I think they have another engagement, so we've activated the hour before we start, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 for option C parents. If that's the photographer's time that they're available. But we've also told them that they don't mind being with a few students, if we social distance, they're welcome to come in when our kids are taking pictures. We are going about it a little differently. In the past, we put probably up to 75 kids into the gym at 3 different cameras. They've asked us to limit it to 25, divided up into the 3 cameras at a time. So I think it's going to be a lot safer anyway. So they're welcome to come in during the day. Also want to acknowledge Mrs. Mindy Tifton. She works for the elementary and the middle school, but she was presented with a plaque from the Miami Soil and Water Conservation District. Just last year while I was here, in an observation of her, was a day that they were in her class observing because of the program she's running on how technology helps the environment. And for her work over the last 3 years, they did present her with this award and a $50 check for her. So congratulations to Ms. Tifton. Miami County Park District has notified us that they're ready to start the Outdoor Adventure Club for the middle school again. They run that weekly. This past spring, with the pandemic and us going out, they changed all their activities to virtual, except for one. They held a virtual camp out with kids and families, but then they actually held a canoeing trip for families and practice social distancing. They haven't set the agenda yet, but they're trying to find out how many kids and how many families are interested, so that information is going out. And as last Friday, our nurses informed us that that was the deadline for students at various grade levels to get their shot records in. We called about 28 families on Thursday, and by this morning, we only had 3 students who didn't have their shot records, and therefore stayed home, hopefully to get their shots at the 7th grade level. They had 2 that they were required to get. And that's all I have for them.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. High school principal, Mr. Barrett Swim.
We got started well in the high school this year. We started with a freshman and new student orientation on Friday, August 21st. It was well attended. It was a good time for the students just to see a little bit about the high school. Our upperclassmen that make up what we're calling flight school instructors answered questions for the freshmen and new students and gave them some words of advice. Due to the distancing restrictions and things, they weren't able to do everything that they wanted to do, but they were able to give some help by giving some words of advice and answering questions there in the gym. The school counselors have finished all the schedule changes. It was far less this year as far as the number of changes that students needed or wanted in their schedules than last year, so that was good. And then just put a plug in here that the students and the teachers are doing a great job abiding by all the guidelines, mandates, and restrictions concerning COVID. The current enrollment as of last Thursday in the high school is 484. This is up 28 over last year at the beginning of the school year, and the breakdown there shows you how many students are in each grade level. There are 69 Bethel students, 43 juniors and 26 seniors, that are attending the Miami Valley Career Tech Center this year. And then there's 1 student who's up at Upper Valley Career Center. We have 74 students taking at least 1 AP class. This is down from last year by 20. there are 77 students taking at least one college credit plus course, which is up 15 compared to last year. We are planning some limited homecoming festivities. Obviously, we can't have a dance, can't do a pep rally, things along those lines. But we are going to do the spirit dress up days the week of September 21st through 25th. There is going to be a homecoming court, and that actually is going to take place and be announced on Wednesday. Once again, not on the football field. We're not doing it on Friday before the football game because of all the restrictions and guidelines that we have to follow for the OHSA. But then that Friday night, our Bethel Bees are taking on Miami East here at Bethel. Just a few things coming up, like the other principals mentioned. We do a picture day. Ours mirrors what Mr. Ziegler shared. We do have Jocelyn coming in. Jocelyn handles all of our graduation announcements, caps and gowns, as well as class rings. They're coming in later this month, and then meeting with the students there, and then collecting orders about a week or so later. So, also on the agenda talks about a thespian troupe. This is something that Mrs. Laura Wolford has come to me, and I then forward on to you. It should be there in your packets of information. This is a complement to the dramas and to the musicals that are already performed. And it basically gives our students an additional opportunity, opens some new doors for them to be recognized at the local state level. There is a small, it's a minimal yearly membership fee that the music boosters have offered to pick that up. So there'll be no money coming out of students' pockets to be part of it, or the school as well. So that's there for your approval this evening as well. Any questions on that?
All right, thank you, Mr. Swope. Mr. King, any comments? Couple of things, going back to, you answered my question with regards to the open house where you did the tours, and the PowerPoint was, you think we'll continue it? I put a little check mark right after I wrote the question because you get that answer on the point. But thank you for putting that together. Thank you for the teachers that came up to help with that as well. Anytime we have the opportunity to welcome a new family and make an impression, I think that suits us well. And makes it a little easier for the kids and the parents. I'd just like to thank all three four administrators, the three schools, for working with pictures to allow for those that are doing option C to have their pictures taken, also be captured into the yearbook. So I think that's great as well. I have to say what an accomplishment to Ms. Tipton for her award, as well as to Miss Bailey and Smith in elementary for also getting selected. Just goes to show the caliber of staff and teachers that we have here. It's just wonderful. Flight school, when you pitched that last year as coming in, I thought it was a great idea. I still think it's an awesome idea. And I'm just glad it was able to take off this year for its first flight. I'm just wondering about homecoming. If there was a way to structure that so that we could have individual cohort, small groups to attend that, whether it's just the seniors or outside students from that to have homecoming outside. But I also understand that maybe the restrictions say that we can't. And so I was just wondering if we are able to, it's probably too short of a notice at this point, but cut through that a little bit. If there's a way to make something small. I think if we do nothing, I think groups will do their own thing. But I was most concerned with the seniors as, their homecoming from that. I know that the last year's seniors lost prom, right? So we saw that. This year's seniors run the risk of losing both. from those aspects and those memories, that everybody talks about. So if we're not able to do something in that with homecoming, maybe we're able to start trying to whittle away at any chance of some way of allowing one of them to happen, like some way.
We have talked with the student council advisor about possibly doing something later in the year if some of the restrictions change. And also, we're trying to get homecoming in while we're still having sports season, because we never know when when the ball's gonna drop on that, and it might come in, tomorrow. So we're trying to get some stuff in, in the event that were to happen.
Okay.
We are kind of looking down the road too, that if things do relax a little bit, like up that we could do some
Could that potentially maybe be like a winter homecoming day?
something like that.
I mean, it's not typically what Bethel's done, but we at least potentially give them an opportunity if things clear up in the winter, to at least have a dance activity.
We used to have a sweetheart swing here at Valentine's Day.
I don't think they've used those terminologies together.
That's all right. That was back in the
Even
day.
worse than that, there used to be a Sadie Hawkins dance in October.
And the school I used to work, in my first school, only allowed school students to the prom and homecoming dance. So that can be done. It's an option.
Those are the key areas I picked up from your report, so thank you so much for that. So I guess we'll continue on. In regards to the proposal, do we have to vote on that?
I don't know necessarily if it's a vote. We don't have it as a motion, really, Mr. Hatter?
I don't.
No, I mean, it would just be, I guess, the thoughts for the board as far as if you guys wanted to proceed with an after-school club.
Does, from the board members, anybody have objection to it being an after-school club as presented?
Are we talking about the shooting?
Talking about the thespian tree?
No.
Thespian?
I don't know that there are meetings after school for this. I'm not that well versed in the whole, in the group.
There would be.
There are.
To musical.
Right.
A lot of the things students do involved. Not the compliments for us, but.
I would support that. It's a great way for our students to get additional, kind of like an honors opportunity in that area. And Ms. Wolford has, it looks like, volunteered to do that. So, there's nominal costs involved, and thanks to the Music Boosters for picking up some of those costs. That's very much appreciated.
I echo a lot of what Lori says, and it sounds like it's going to dovetail nicely with what Muse Machine already does as far as the time commitment for students. And there'll probably be a great deal of overlap in the membership there anyway, but this just opened up as a chance for them to go to additional conferences and possibly additional performances. So I'm fine with it.
Do you have any objections?
No, I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
Feel free to proceed, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
So then we go on to the superintendent items.
I have a couple of items on here this evening for a discussion. Letter A is Dustin Gilroy for a potential establishment of a youth play shooting club. I've never met Mr. Gilroy, but I'm going to assume that's you. So we allowed you to come in. Obviously, you presented some information to the board. They've had a chance to review that information and now kind of provide a time for you to educate us a little bit more besides just the basics of what we received in the email, and then potentially take some questions from the board members before they would proceed to either go forward with it or decline, kind of help educate them a little bit on the club and exactly what it would look like, how the membership recruitment process would go, where it would take place at, what are kind of expectations on the students, who's going to advise them or supervise them, what kind of safety measures we put in place, those kind of things that I think a school will take a look at before proceeding forward with the type of club like this.
Obviously, anytime you have firearms involved, people are hesitant to go forward. So I'll just explain a little bit about what play shooting is. It's a little orange play disc that is launched by a spring-loaded arm, throws the disc in the air. The shooter pulls the shotgun into their shoulder and tries to shoot what they call the play pigeon. We have 5 stations, 5 rounds at each station. The one with total highest shot count wins the round. That's track. Ski, you have one coming from this direction, one from across. Again, pull the shoulder up, shoot from track to shoot it. There's also another version called sporting clay, which more mimics shooting what they call a prairie game, rabbits, quail, pheasants. We won't be doing those, even though they are available. That's would be for more advanced shooters. What we would mostly concentrate on, especially in the beginning, would just be trap. Easy in front of you, teaches firearm safety. It's very controlled. The location right now, Right Pat Gun Club has offered their facilities and their range safety officers to host this club. So what that would look like is myself would be the head coach, also pulling the board together. I do have an assistant coach already set aside who has stepped up to help. That will allow us to have up to 20. The league that we would like to join allows 10 kids per coach. Right now, we have 6 to 8 that are very interested right now. So we're well under that 20. As far as advertising to more students, just starting out, we don't have that large of a fund, so most of it be through social media. So local Bethel Facebook pages, Fair Show Facebook pages, word of mouth, 4-H club. I know is on board, helping us get the word out. So that's a great resource for us. They also do, as part of their curriculum, shotgun shooting. So it ties in nicely with other clubs that are already doing this. Safety-wise, like I said, we're going to have a safety range safety officer with us always. They will be handling all the equipment, making sure it's set up safely, making sure that we have proper gun racks so that students who aren't shooting do not control their weapons and are in a safe position. That way we can concentrate on those that are shooting. And with 2 adults plus a range safety officer, controlling 5 kids shooting, it's a lot easier than when we know that other 5 or so kids don't have their weapons in their hands. Let's see what else. As far as the sport itself, it's very inclusive. We've had a kid shoot from a wheelchair. Boys, girls, this would be middle school and high school. Obviously, we probably can join the middle school and high school together at first, unless we had enough to split into 2 teams. And then we would ask for another parent or coach to come along and help us monitor both teams. The gun range is big enough that we could do both, have 2 adults and 2 safety range officers at each. Let's see what else. The league that we want to join is Ohio Sporting Clays of Ohio, or Sporting Clays of Ohio Youth League. They provide the insurance. It's pretty low fee to join. It's not a sport yet because there aren't enough schools that are doing it. So they're kind of that's why we're going to the schools and asking, their blessing to make it an activity, an official activity. The more schools we get, the closer we get to actually falling into becoming a sport. This is great for kids. Like I said, not only does it tie into other clubs here at the school, 4-H clubs, it also provides scholarship opportunities for our kids at some of the larger colleges, Ohio State, Kent State, Bowling Green, some of those in Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, all across the nation provide scholarships. This is another avenue for one of our students to be able to dig a little further into some financial sources when they graduate. right now, so far, everyone has showed interest, has been able to provide their own shotgun. The base does rent them, so that's good. So we'll provide a financial block to somebody who wants to do the club. Pretty affordable. We also do have 2 sponsors that are looking to sponsor Old English Outfitters and Dick's Sporting Goods. Have expressed interest in supporting us to also bring down the cost. The Ryan Patterson Gun Club has said they will give us also some help on buying the ammo, and they said they'll give us the place. So we buy the ammo for them, they'll give us the place for free. So we got a lot of support in the community. We got a lot of interest, and it's extremely safe. The league's been around for 10 years, no injuries, no incidents. Anything else you guys need to know?
Is that question, Julie?
Yeah, I have one. So you answered the safety record. Thank you. What about, so you said the kids so far that are interested can provide their own shotguns. So I'm sure they've had some information provided, but do you provide gun safety training and
Yes,
range safety?
Yes. So as part of the league's bylaws, each kid either A, has to have a hunter's permit, as a youth, you have to go through a class in order to get that, or they have to go through their own mandated gun safety training, which is it's basically all day. I think it's like 6 hours of videos and taking a test. As for us, even if we're going to make them go through that mandatory training anyway, just because then I know that they have watched the videos and they're going along the safety guidelines that I know and trust. Also, right, Pat will make them sit down for a 2-hour video on their own range safety, and then, like I said, range safety officers will be there to enforce all safety regulations. That's all.
I got to follow up to that then.
Sure.
So what is the 6-hour training? If they have to do that, what does that cost?
It's free. It's
free.
part of it's part of the league fees.
Okay,
So that's free.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. To go with your cost though, as of right now, because I don't have it, I've been waiting on approval from the board before I can actually go to Dick's Sporting Outfitters field to get their money. Right now, it's about $250 per child per season. There's a spring and a fall, and that does include ammo and blood.
Dustin, I'd just like to thank you for all the legwork you've done in getting this proposed. I know you've been back and forth with us a couple times, and it's certainly you've given us a lot of information, and at least I appreciate all the safety mention of the safety instruction that's occurring, and so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Lida, did you have any questions? Can't see you.
Yeah, no, I'm just clarifying. You said is it $250 per child per season, or is it for both seasons?
No, it's $250 per child per season.
Okay, and you said that does include, I'm sorry, the sound is just difficult sometimes. And that includes or does not include ammo?
It does include ammo and clay. It includes all equipment and everything needed would be in there,
So all inclusive. Okay, that's good.
except for the shotgun.
Yeah.
We'd have to rent-
Okay, excellent. I know I've seen several of your posts on social media and different outlets and things and carriage trails. So I see you out there trying. I saw, and you said that you had, how many students were already interested, did you say?
We have six that are wanting to do the fall, and we couldn't make it this year, so we're kind of, parents are doing that with their kids right now, and then 2 more that were confirmed to join the team in the spring. So we have 8 total for the spring season, as of right now.
Okay, thank you.
I do know the board had asked the one question, what would happen if we get more than 20 kids to sign up? Obviously, our first resource would be to ask other parents for money to support to step up, so we can include more kids. Otherwise, it would be just first come, first served, unfortunately. Or prior shooters and then first come, first served.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I guess my question would be, why would this have need to be affiliated with the United.
So
Why
the,
couldn't it just be like, you know, any other 4-H or anything else that's really not necessarily tied to the school, but of course it would be open to our students?
that's a good question. So, basically, it does not have to. I could start this club, which is what we're doing now. We're going to the Red Pat Range, while doing the trade, Troy sporting, fishing game. And so we don't. But the only way to get into the league would be to be affiliated with the school, because the league is not considered a sport yet. It's only be considered an activity. Because under Ohio Sports Association, you have to have so many schools participating in the sport before they'll recognize it as a sport.
So would it fall under the same guidelines as like some of our AAU teams, where kids can get college scholarships but never ever play on high school team? Wouldn't it fall under that same type of category? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it would if we were official. So, and I don't know about every scholarship, about every school out there, but the 3 that I know of in Ohio, you have to be officially associated with a shooting team. Easiest way to get a team into I could put them together and then try to travel all around Ohio and scoop up. But this would be easier in terms of we're organized, we go to one place, we don't have to travel around, because all of our scores would be uploaded to the cloud, and we're competing against high schools and middle schools that way. And that's just an easier way. Then I can send those off to the colleges and say, hey, they participated in so many shoots, they've done so many tournaments, they've won a state tournament, or whatever the case may be. And it's just easier to compile and get that student the info and the leg up that they need. It's the other students who have the ability to go buy a $600 shotgun. We can afford to travel around the state, because it's not a cheap sport. And this was the most cost-effective way that I found I could get it started and benefit students at the time.
I think too, one of the comments of the questions I had going back to you was actually a clarifying question, right? And that is, when, for this to become a sport, and I believe you meant it's already a sport, but for it to be an OHSAA recognized sporting activity, it has to have a school name tag,
Yeah.
right? So the more schools becomes just like football and baseball, but to that fact, Petty and AAU organization as well can do the same thing as getting at least recognition in that aspect. So, yeah, I understand. And what about for the coaches? Does the current league that you're in, I know they, reading the information you provide us, provide a lot of information, and they provide the insurance and the dynamics, how you have to conduct trainings and how you have to conduct sessions. A lot of strict guidelines in there. But what I didn't see in there was any background check requirements for any of the coaches or the assistant coaches, anything in that area?
So that's a good question, and you're right. The league does not, as of right now, have the resources or the ability to perform those. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going to answer you from what I gathered from talking to the league, and it's just because they're not a recognized sport, so they don't have to do it, and it's money that they can't. They're trying to save, they can do more marketing and get stuff like that out. Background checks, I wouldn't know how, wouldn't be against doing them if I had a resource to do such. So I'm open to that if any of you have suggestions how I can.
There would always be a way,
Incorporate that.
if the school board would so choose to make it a school activity, since you would fall underneath school district jurisdiction, we could have you or your coaches travel up to the Miami County ESC or the Sheriff's Department in Troy and receive an FBI, DCI background check, which is standard for every employee that works in the district, whether you're a teacher or aide or bus driver or superintendent.
That'd be great. Yeah.
That's a way to take care of that issue.
I think that'd be smart going forward if we were utilizing the school name, that at least parents would know that the coaches and assistant coaches have passed that rigorous background check. That's my thing.
I agree.
Move forward on that. Okay.
I don't, not in the immediate area, not within the 50-mile radius. I do know a guy at Fairborn who is interested in doing it, and I think he's kind of waiting to see how well I do. Because this is, I understand the hesitation. Anytime, especially nowadays, you hear, kids with firearms, there's obviously a hold in the breath moment. But this is an extremely safe sport. We're going to have, very close, very well qualified adult supervision. And I think this will almost be like a domino effect. I think if I can get it started here, my friend will get it started at Fairborn, and I think it could grow. And it might not, but the beautiful thing about this league is we don't have to. We do have the state competition where we'll travel to, but other than that, we shoot at our home field and we just load up our scores. The kids aren't feeling any pressure, they're not up there nervous. I think it's actually a really nice way of doing it rather than going too large shooting competition. It gives them a little more self-confidence too. So I don't know
I
if
know
that
there's several schools in the Cincinnati area that are doing it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I did it. I grew up in Cincinnati, and I did it in high school. It wasn't associated with the school at the time, but each club had their own use. So it's getting bigger. Yeah. So as for the official season, you have 10 weeks total, 2 weeks of what they consider practice. You go, actually, the 11 weeks. First week is admin. You go through your safety training, coach go through their safety training. 2 weeks of practice, basically that's going through with kids, even the experienced ones, on how you progress to the station, how you hold your ammo, just the whole process in general. And then, we do give some shooting instruction on, how to lead the bird and all that. So you got this 2 weeks of practice, and then it's just 8 weeks of competition. We really don't have practice during the week. Parents can go with their kids on their own. In fact, we recommend it. Join the club, pay your dues, go there. I mean, it's a great relaxing sport. During the summer, the league does not provide actual sponsored shoots, but they, all the 2 main shooting leagues in Ohio post to their website, and you can sign up the kids in their youth competitions that way. The state shooting comp is at the end of the spring season, and last year I believe it was in Columbus, or right outside Columbus, and they had 10 schools show up. So that's pretty big. All of them having about 7 to 10 shooters apiece. So, and that's it really. You don't actually have to go on right path to get to the shooting club. It's off to the side. So it's public access. I know a lot of parents are a little worried about that at first. Like, how do I get a shotgun on the base? Don't have to worry about that. And so yeah, and then they have turkey shoots in the winter. At both Troy Fish and Game and at the right pad, and we were hoping to do some fundraising that way. Turkey shoot for Bethel. Not only raise money for ourselves, or whatever, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunities for the kids not only to enjoy the sport, but get back to their school and community.
I have one other question. So you said it's middle school and high school combined, or do they shoot separately? Like, how does that work?
So it depends on how many. As of right now, they are going to shoot combined. And the station, there's 5 stations, so you're not really, it's not a competition amongst them, and they're spaced apart. So you can always shoot together. Obviously, we had enough to split 2 up, just so you have, the high school by themselves and the middle school by themselves for simplicity of, I'm with my friends, I'm with somebody I know and trust. That would be my goal. I would obviously be ecstatic for that to happen, but for now, until we get enough to split the two. Like if I had 5 high school, 5 middle school, I would split them from that, even with 2 coaches, because we could each run one line at the same time. We don't have to worry about anything behind it. So. It really depends on the age group. But the beautiful thing is I can pull from both according to the league rules and at least keep the team together, even if we only have 5 kids with 2 high schoolers and 3 middle schoolers.
And then just a question I was thinking of, being that you're outside of the district, how do you plan on communicating with your team members? Will you do mostly like by email or social media, by text? What's your plan for staying in touch with your students?
Right now, it's mostly social media and email. As we grow, as we get more funding and more resources, the league does have a team net option through their website. I don't know how reliable it is. I could try doing, you can build like a little team page there and it shows your scores and you can leave messages, look at message score and send like flash emails out. I think right now with 8 kids, it would be pretty easy to text message and email. But yeah, I mean, as we grow, we would actually have to think about that also in the future.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's our normal practice that for something of this magnitude, or just an organization coming in to create a new sport, kind of like we discussed with archery, is they would have to be able to perform for 3 years on their own before we would possibly bring it as a school sport, as in sustainable, a good number of students, no issues, kind of that aspect. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And so really what you're asking us now is for you to be a sanctioned organization utilizing Bethel schools as being identified as a team associated with that. Correct? So right now you're not asking us to make you our own program. You're just asking us to sponsor you in there.
A name only, right? It's just a name only. We everything else will be totally separate, except for the background checks or what have you. But and I believe I didn't answer a question as far as age 12. You have to be 12 and physically able to lift a weapon. Like that's one of the first things you go to the shooting range. If you can't hold it correctly for the same amount of time, we're not going to let you shoot. One of the good things. But luckily, they do make smaller guns. It shouldn't be an issue, but 12 is definitely the lowest I would say.
So what is our next step for the program?
Next steps would include, obviously, if you needed to have further discussion with the collective group in regards to your potential support, starting it as a club activity, or if you feel like you have enough information now, as a school board to make that decision.
I feel like I do.
I feel like I do.
Okay. Lori shaking yes. Lida? Yes. So all of us have enough information. We have to vote on that, or?
Yeah.
I think we should vote on it, Jacob, so it's in record.
Do we need a legal resolution drafted by the attorney, or can we just vote?
In conversations with John, he indicated as long as you have a vote.
All right. So then I think, what's the name of the organization?
Yeah, it's good question. So far, we just call it the Bethel Shooting.
No, the overarching
Oh,
organization.
Sporting Clays of Ohio.
Yeah, Sporting
Sporting Clays of Ohio. So that since we don't have it on here as a voting thing, I guess I can make a motion to accept proposal from Dustin Gilroy for a youth clay shooting club under the Sporting Clays of Ohio organization to utilize Bethel local schools name to include background checks from us and a follow-up survey from your organization to the middle and high school principals.
I second the motion.
Any other discussion? Brandon, can you call the vote?
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Please be in contact with Mr. First for the required documentation you're going to need and for you and your assistant coach to get your background check.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Look forward to hearing the successful story.
You're free to stay or? Okay, okay.
All right, continuing on.
Yeah, letter B, underneath the superintendent's report, has to do with a proposal that was discussed during the work session. The proposal would be for additional discussion or investigation for the 21-22 school year. We have to do in regards to the implementation of potential drug testing for interscholastic athletics, co-curricular, and also co-curricular activities. This would be for students in grades 9 through 12. Brian, if you could pull up the first document, would be a potential policy that's been developed in regards to this. You can see the step-by-step process of how, if the school board would choose to go in this direction, after further discussion, probably some additional community input, also a potential small committee to look in depth in this and do a little bit more. Probably need to seek out some additional schools that have implemented it, find out some pros and cons to the program, what went well and potentially what needs to be changed or needs to be changed. But what you can see is a policy that's been developed through another semi-local school district utilizing a Neola policy in which we currently utilize. Also, just to kind of provide some additional information in regards to this, if the school board would go in this direction, you would have 3 test collections per school year. Those collections would be obviously fall, winter, and spring. That would coincide with not only activities, but also interscholastic athletics. The school board would have some flexibility, and the school district would have some flexibility in regards to the number of students that were tested each run. The company that I spoke with, Great Lakes Lab, indicated that the minimum amount of students that you would want to test per test run would be 6. You can go as high as you would like. And obviously, the Great Lakes Lab would handle all of the random selection of students. The district would essentially provide a database of students that are involved in the activities during those seasons, send it off to them, and then they would run it through their computer for the random selection. The second document, Brennan, that you could pull up, so that document pertains to the policy. The second document, which the school board had kind of asked about in regards to the work session when I first spoke about it, was some formal quotation in regards to the cost. And what you'll see in this document, there's 3 different options that the school district would be able to look at. There's a $625 option, a $555 option, a $4.95 option. And the reason for the difference is obviously the $625 option would be a 16-panel screen, which includes 16 different narcotics that would test for, a 13-panel screen, and a 12-panel screen. The first 3 options would be almost an instant cup, which would be screened at the school, and then it would show if one of the narcotics was considered a positive test. Then you may ask yourself, okay, then what are the corresponding or following numbers that coincide with that? So depending upon from the 16, 13, or 12 panel screen, if any of those narcotics comes up positive,
there's an additional cost based on which narcotic it was to send officially to the lab to do an official, I guess, a deeper analysis of the screen. So, for example, like EPG confirmation, people might say, well, what does EPG mean? That's a biomarker for positive alcohol screen. It'd be $30 for fentanyl, $56 for cannabinoids. And then if the school wanted to have the option of having these tests available on campus for prom, homecoming, those kind of things, they do offer a 9-panel oral fluid screen and confirmation for reasonable suspicion. So that could be administered at the time if we felt like the student was under the influence or intoxicated. So there is additional cost that if you get a positive screen from those three, that you would have to pay corresponding to which narcotic it was. It also provides some turnaround time as far as the number of business hours or days we could expect once a specimen was sent to the lab to receive confirmation or a negative screen. We are required to offer or to purchase a supply of 25 to have on hand. The shelf life of those testing kits are 12 to 18 months, and then obviously the quote's based on volume of what's available. So there would be some cost if you would have to ship less than 7 specimens off to the lab. So that kind of gives you an idea cost-wise of what the district is looking at. So, I mean, overall, the cost is relatively cheap for the different panel screens. It would be a cost that would most likely be shared between the district and the athletic department, since it would affect those students in particular. But obviously, there needs to be additional conversations that take place to kind of get the thoughts and feelings on folks on what that would mean, or is there a potential perception that that would entail as far as bringing that into the district. But I do think that it does set a very high expectation level of what we perceive to what it means to be either a student athlete or a student that's involved in co-curricular or extracurriculars here at district level, as far as, you know, your behavior on and off the floor, and how you conduct yourselves out in the community on the weekends and those kind of things. So, kind of open that up this time for any additional questions or thoughts or comments.
You know, I think in the work session, I asked the question, you know, what's the purpose? What do we think we're going to benefit from doing this? So you didn't understand the answer to that. With regards to maintaining the high level of academic and sports requirements that we have, it helps to maintain that. You know, a very smart person in my life once said that it's okay to trust others, but verify. So this allows for the verification. Cool. Those are my thoughts. I still wonder if it is something we really need or we don't need. I know I hear a lot of comments with regards to students utilizing drugs here and there, you know, especially on social media. I know we do the walkthroughs, and I know that the dogs have been into the school, and we do the education piece from those aspects as well. Do you think that this is an opportunity to possibly, if somebody is doing this, that we will have an early interdiction with their families, at least, so that possibly it won't impact them the rest of their lives?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very good conversation for us, things that need to be discussed and explored moving forward as far as potential, for lack of a better term, intervention or an opportunity to get somebody help before maybe a recreational use becomes a long-term problem.
Mm-hmm. And then going forward, do you think with this type of policy and proposal, would we open that up to present to the, other than here, right, to the community and take in comments
I think absolutely. I think that's a step that we, I talked about from the beginning as far as, we're a long way away from potentially making this what we're doing. I think we'd be foolish if we didn't garner more input from folks on their thoughts, both pro and con, with the policy. And I'd be definitely open to suggestions on best ways to gather some more feedback from parents. So, as part of the decision-making process.
Any other thoughts?
One group you might run this by is athletic boosters, if it hasn't been done already, because they have a lot of kids that have played sports and been familiar with athletes, and I think it would be good to get their perspective.
And music booster?
Athletic boosters, well, music too, I guess, but
I know when we spoke previously, Justin, I had asked if you had a way to ask Great Lakes or other firms what their percentage of positive results was compared to the number of tests. And I just don't know if you had a chance to speak with them about that yet.
Just I will follow up on that. Percentage of positive cases. Yeah. I think that information tomorrow. I apologize for that. I will send it to you via email if I get it back tomorrow.
No, that's okay. I mean, like you said, we're very early in the decision-making process, but I think that's worth, considering.
Absolutely.
Is that positive cases versus false positives or just positives?
Just in general, like how many tests are you doing and then how much are you finding?
Kind of or even doing
just
it.
data in general.
Okay, we'll do.
I would assume they may be higher in the initial phases, could be the initial years, and then as it goes out.
Yeah, especially if they have demographics on districts similar to ours specifically, would be great.
We'll do.
And one other question I had is if someone, I know some of our area school districts are using this program or something similar. How, if we would have a student test positive, how is the discipline process and confidentiality handled? Because that's going to be really tough, whether it be a music student or an athlete and somebody just disappears. I mean, and I want to get the person, as Jacob mentioned, the intervention they need, but I also want to be conscious of the ramifications from a longer term perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can assure you, like I do everyone else, school districts by law are not allowed to discuss confidential matters in regards to discipline of students or adults in school districts as far as the details. So, I mean, you have to protect the confidentiality of the matter as much as you can while not trying to exhibit that you're being non-transparent. I mean, people have rights as students and as adults. We have to be able to administer the discipline, but also know that their rights are being protected by the district too. So it's a fine balance between doing both. But I get what you're saying, because no matter what happens, if so-and-so disappears from this team or this club, the first question is going to be, why are they sitting out 2 games or 4 games, et cetera? And you have to have a plan on how you're going to deal with that. And I think that's a very legitimate concern, and we'd have to, during our next year of discussion, try to figure out how we're going to address that situation, because people are going to figure it out eventually. So I think we don't want to label kids. So.
Sure, and certainly there's an appeal process because there's the confirmation period as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's way more to it than what I presented. It was just an overarching idea right now, and then I would say over the course of the year, if we want to continue to have further discussions and more questions, I mean, these are all very good things that I haven't even thought of yet. I'm glad you're bringing them up so I can start digging in deeper to provide some answers. But absolutely. So the more you have, the more feel free to share, because it's going to be best for all parties if we can be as transparent as we can through the process.
Versus they missed athletic eligibility for the next 2 games. So we can play.
Yeah.
Which could mean plethora of items, right? Parade,
Yeah,
attendance,
absolutely.
it is. Okay. I think everyone feels, does anybody feel that we should not move forward with further investigating and working with with this process for this specific item?
I would definitely like to hear from this company at a future work session.
Sure.
I think they could answer some of Lyda's questions and some of our other concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'd have a problem doing that. Like I said, we're very early in the process, and the more conversation we can have on it, I think the best case scenario for everyone.
Well, I think if we can tie in with a company, they will tell us as well as what other schools have gone through implementing it. And those two tied together, possibly we can roll out a really nice program that we don't have a hiccup a lot of the other people had. So from that aspect, that'd be my thought. And then the community's gonna think of probably 10,000 more things than what we thought of here. So, as a way to get that holistic look at a process. I think it's a big shift. Small school, small town school with a lot of population. So, in that aspect, as we continue to grow and diversify.
There's a lot of things to take into consideration before you do something like this.
Thank you for looking into it and bringing it forward.
Those are the two
Yeah.
items I actually see.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Justin, for continually finding like the best of the best for vendors for us as well. Like, I really appreciate that you spend the time to research the best vendors to present to us as well.
Yeah, it's no problem. You're welcome.
All right, moving on, number 7, important dates of the district. Remember?
And Jacob, you may want to mention the September 22nd, 6 p.m. meeting that we added.
September 22nd, we'll be putting out a special board meeting as a kickoff to with our architect on our new K-5 athletics. So, as well.
And the stadium.
Yeah, stadium. Which those announcements will be coming out soon.
Is an educational progress day and in-service day, or is it a statewide recognized?
No, those are local days. I think,
Thought maybe it might be
trying to
WOEA or
speak
something.
correctly on this, I'm still learning educational progress days. This is an opportunity for the elementary to work on, you guys work on the RTI process, and then middle school, high school has just traditional some in-service time, right? I always want to say REMS, it's not REMS, it's RTI, response for intervention.
We have the rent.
Oh, okay. But you don't do them on the educational progress days? No.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. All right, treasurer's items requesting board action. Mr. Hattery, sir.
Board, I have the following items, approval of minutes from August 4th, 10th, and 24th. Payment of bills for August. My monthly financial board report for August. Fiscal year 21 permanent appropriation for the funds as presented. Approval of donation, Bethel PTO. Approval of new funds. That's the second round of CARES funding that we got. And then we also got a grant through elementary library for library service and technology grant, which is also CARES. The annual to participate in all federal and state programs, but not limited to, and these are the current ones that we have at the end of last year. This one is to amend the capital projects resolution that was established in 2018 to include the acquisition of land in the purpose of the fund. That's the only thing that's changing. K is to approve the remaining outstanding debt. I still have not got the actual final payoff amount yet. We're still working on that. And then the last one is the resolution to issue the certificate of participations for new athletic stadium complex and K-5 building, as well as improvements to the existing high school facility, which is required for the issuance. And then if there are any funds left over, any other improvements to other school district buildings. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Motion to place items from the treasurer's report on the consent calendar.
This is Lori. I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a
This is
second?
Lida, I'll second.
Thank you, Lida. Any discussion?
So we're leaving item K off, no?
No.
No.
It won't be more than what was originally proposed, but since the market's changed, I'll give you guys the final number once I know it.
I would just like to thank Brennan for his phenomenal work getting all these documents to us. It is a lot. I think by paying off the remaining land debt, it will simplify our finances. So I really, really appreciate him doing all the legwork with the various organizations to make this happen tonight. It was not trivial. Thank you, Brennan.
The PTO did a donation there for $2,000. What was that for?
They helped pay for playground, like the balls and footballs.
Oh, that's right, we
with,
discussed
like,
it.
yeah.
For the individual classrooms.
Individual
for the other
classrooms,
stuff. Excellent. Okay, I mean, remiss to say thank you again to the PTO for their generosity in allowing that to each class to have their own equipment to reduce contact spread and sharing of balls and things in the playground. Any other?
So I was just wondering, Brian, can you give a little explanation on why we had to amend the capital, what was that, the capital
Project fund, because in order to pay off the debt related to the land, the original resolution didn't include acquisition of land.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Brian, could you call the vote, please, or the roll?
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Reno.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt the consent calendar items from the treasurer's report?
I'll move it.
Go ahead.
I'll move.
Thank you, Danny. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie, for the second. Any further discussion?
There were a couple of small spelling problems in letter J that I thought maybe.
In the actual.
Yeah, in the actual thing. Yeah.
Oh, well, because I don't know who's.
No. Right there. Now therefore needs an E on it. And be it resolved.
I just copied what was approved back in 18 and just added this.
Just point it out.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments? Can you call the vote to include the amended resolution? Okay, or Jay?
Mr. Reno,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
Any other information from the treasurer?
Do not have any this evening.
No? Moving along to superintendent's items requesting board action.
Letter A is approval of change in educational degree status. Congratulations to Ms. Laura Wolford for moving on the salary schedule from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree. So I'd like to recognize her for that accomplishment and also make a improved step on the salary schedule based on educational experience. Letter B is the approval of leave of absence for high school, middle school guidance counselor, Mrs. Molly Wiedemann. starting approximately October 26th, 2020. I'd like to wish her the very best in her family as she goes on FMLA leave. Letter C is the approval of certified substitutes. This is one that we do annually. As the ESV list for substitute changes, we have to continuously reapprove every time the list changes. So this will be one, probably towards the end of the year, you'll say, we've done this like 6 times. And I would say because the list has changed that many times. So every time it changes, we have to approve it from the ESC. I wish it was a one-time for all, but unfortunately it doesn't work. Letter D is the approval of a classified substitute. As you can see, the individual that we are recommending for a substitute lunchroom aide at $10 per hour. Stephanie, I think I'm saying it right. Shucks. Letter E is the approval of valedictorian and salutatorian policy that was presented at the work session by Mr. Swope. That file is attached. Letter F has to do with supplemental contracts and the MOU that we worked on with a BEA and also our attorney in regards to getting the remainder of our supplementals hired for the 2020-2021 school year with extracurricular, co-curricular, and also athletic activities. Letter G is an approval of additional days for our guidance counselors. This is a carryover from what has been done previously for both Mrs. Lance and also Mrs. Wiedemann, to provide them additional days to continue to work with student schedules, grade cards, etc. during most of the time during the summer months. And then we also have letter H, the approval of a resignation. Mr. Keith Moore as assistant coach for reserve boys basketball. Coach Moore has taken a position in a different school district. We'd like to thank him for his service to Bethel local schools and the impact he's had on not only our student athletes, but our basketball program. So thank you, Coach Moore. We wish him the very best moving forward. Letter I is the approval of a work-study program. We've had a couple of our kiddos that worked this summer on campus and helped with mostly outdoor work, landscaping, mowing, trimming, edging, that kind of work. They were able to coordinate with Mr. Swope and be approved this evening for a work-study program that will allow them to still obviously take their high school courses here on campus and also continue to help our maintenance department outside till it's not so nice outside, and then come back inside and help inside as well. So it's always good to have extra hands on duty, and we'd like to thank Cole and Ryan for continuing working for the district. And hopefully it's a good experience for them as well. Those are the items that I had for this evening for consideration.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion to place the items from the superintendent's report on the consent calendar.
I'll move.
Thank you, Danny. Do we have a second?
This is Lyda, I'll second.
All right, thank you, Lyda. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think the VALSAL policy might be missing a couple things.
Okay.
I'm pulling it up on my end so I can see. Sorry, give me just a second to change screens. I believe that we had agreed to change just a few of the words to say, like, so under additionally, that we would say, it says 4.0 or highest unweighted scale, but then we would have added the salutatorian line there as well.
Was the updated?
I don't think we got the updated one.
Well, some of it's updated because this has highest unweighted scale, but then on class of 2023, it's not listed there. It wasn't completely updated.
Right, it's kind of spotty. So salutatorian is not included for 2021 and 2022. And then, yeah. And then the highest unweighted part is not included for 2023.
And beyond, yeah.
And beyond, right.
Okay, so is that something that we can add the language?
Yes.
Can we do that, Brennan? Can we add the language now and still have it approved? Yeah. Okay. PDF. Okay. Let me know what I need to add to it, and then I'll get that sent out to you folks tomorrow for a thumbs up.
I think as long as we got the intent there, of what we're looking to do, we can do the minor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me know again, Mrs. Mansfield, what do you want to read?
Okay, so, sorry, changing screens again. It's a lot on this end. Okay, so under the 2021 and 2022,
Okay, the first line.
after it's under additionally, where it says any student has earned GPA or the highest unweighted, we need to add the sentence about the next highest GPA for salutatorian. Because there's no mention of salutatorian for those 2 years.
Next highest unweighted.
Copy the last line where it says any student that earns the next highest GPA number. That just got left off.
Yeah, the reference to salutatorian is just missing, that's all.
Gotcha.
And then under 2023 and beyond, we don't mention the highest unweighted scale grade for the 4.0 part.
Okay.
So in the line right above it, where it mentions that you want to copy that down to the class of 2023 and beyond first statement.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Mrs. Sebastian, did you see anything else?
Shaking
Okay.
her head no.
All right. We'll get that amended. We'll approve it tonight. I'll make sure I add the additional language tomorrow, and then I will send it out to you guys for a final confirmation if that works.
Excellent, thank you.
I apologize for that.
Oh, no, it's all good. We made a lot of changes, so it's cool. It's perfectly fine.
And then I just have one question.
Yeah.
The concern that Mrs. Lamp had, that's not related to ValSal, right? That's to the,
It was.
okay,
Yeah, the email that I forwarded to you folks.
yeah.
Yeah, she had some concerns in regards to the policy and some things to take into consideration.
Okay.
And we received the answer from Mr. First and Mr. Schwartz with regards to those.
They're in red.
At the bottom. He responded. And pretty much,
Yeah, well, actually, I think I did see those, and that was why I thought maybe it was related to like the class ranking. rather
yeah,
than the
it is, so
ValSal.
the class ranking is different than the ValSal.
Right,
Yeah.
so it doesn't affect the ValSal.
Right, and that's where we were
Okay.
discussing that starting this year or next year, 7th grade, that takes CCP, those
Right.
weighted averages to be added now into their total class ranking.
Right, but none of that needs to be stated here, is my
Correct.
question.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
That'll be written in your handbook.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just have to pull it out, I mean, from this is that, and then there'll be another section, I would assume, in regards to class ranking. And how
Perfect.
that's, once we figure this out, then we can do that.
I would also like to thank Mrs. Brewer and the BEA for working through that MOU. I know that the supplementals were a concern for many of us on the board and some of the people who are organizing those activities. So I really appreciate that. I mean, this year is very unusual, and we really, at least I really appreciate your working together with us on that.
Any other questions or discussion?
I have one other one. Is there a way to permanently fix the guidance counselor additional days? We do this every year. And I mean, I thought originally part of it was because we only had one guidance counselor, but if they need the days, what, can we fix it so we don't have to?
Yeah, I mean, you could have additional discussion if you felt like you wanted to change the amount of extended days.
They're on a teacher's contract.
They're on a teacher, you can't choose. additional days. Proven every year. They're part of the union. Part of the union
You'd
that
have
they
to
have.
do, you'd have to do either negotiations or through MOU. They can be changed, just not as easy as you think.
Right.
So if we have upcoming contract negotiations,
That can always be part of the discussion, but there's no promises that it'll change.
yeah, I'm not asking for any promises, I'm just saying, we do this every year, so if
Yeah.
it's needed, then let's look at doing it permanently rather than, unless nobody else feels that way, if you wanna.
Julie, just a historical context. We had updated most of the administrator secretary contracts back, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, maybe it's been longer than that, to lengthen their contract lengths. I didn't realize we couldn't do it for guidance counselors because of the teaching contracts, but if we need them, then yes, it's silly to continue to approve them. If we can get an MOU through, with the new teacher contract, that would be wonderful. I would support that.
Just depending on what items are brought forward in the negotiations. So when you guys do the ground rules, how many items are we actually gonna talk about, whether it's 10 each side or 5 each side, when we go through that.
Well, and it would be really nice as a parent, and I'm sure other parents probably have this concern of having someone on staff in the guidance program for part of the summer, because they both, I think, take their time right now at the same time. It would be nice to have somebody in there. So, for those people who need things for college, or scholarships or just class changes, somebody's there to answer questions some of the time.
Yeah, thank you for that, input, we'll have some discussion on it.
Any other item? I'd like to thank the coach for his time here with us as well, and look forward to Peterman and her time off. And think the best for their family. And I think that's it.
Ooh, I forgot about work study. That is excellent. And congratulations to those young men, and thank them for staying on board with us, because that's a great program.
All right. Any others? Brendan, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Elam? Yes. Ms. Mansfield?
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes,
Mr. King?
Yes. Motion to adopt the consent calendar as amended for the Val style.
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori.
I'll second.
Julie for the second. Any further discussion?
And I just thank everyone for all their really hard work getting that Val-Sal policy nailed down, and everyone's flexibility working through that, because that took a lot of hands getting involved, including Mr. Swope and Mrs. Lance and Ms. Wiedemann and that committee that Mr. Swope put together, as well as all the board members. Thank you all for your input, and the families who came to the meeting and had input as well. That was a strenuous process for a number of people, and just thank everyone for their flexibility.
And I think some of the kids that came into the meeting are currently
Yes.
working with Mr. Swope on the weighted GPA, or so I'm told.
All right. I guess it goes to show, right? Getting involved, you can make a difference. Okay?
Who knew that policy would be so complicated though?
I know.
I mean, and now looking back, it seems so much cleaner and simpler than it was.
Yes. All right. Brendan, could you call the vote?
Ms. Sebastian?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes,
Ms. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Elam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Mhm. Next up will be board items. Number A is a resolution to accept the master's. Sorry. Back up. Number 11, other information from the superintendent.
Letter A is a motion to approve Garmin Miller Architects for the design of the K-5 building and athletic complex pending contractual agreement. I'd like to welcome a couple of folks from Garmin Miller here this evening, Mr. Eric Fossell, Mr. Lynn Coleman. Thank you, gentlemen, for being down here this evening. On behalf of the school board and facilities committee, we're very excited to embark on this new journey with Garmin and Miller as we begin the design process for both of those facilities that I think will be huge difference makers for Bethel local schools and our students and our staff and our parents and community. The board and the committee was very impressed with you folks during the interview process. We felt like it was a good fit for our district, this next phase of our project. And let the members or committee members make any comments as well.
That's a nice summary.
Excellent.
You had tough competition, so congratulations.
Yeah, very, very dynamic.
With that being said, we have some questions for you. Kind of, but I'm not joking. So, a couple of, if you guys don't mind, a couple of conversations or questions that came up during our facilities meeting was kind of trying to clarify to the group in regards to kind of what the core team would look like, what their role would be throughout the process, and kind of what would you envision, or have you worked with obviously core teams before, kind of what their role is during the first design process phase, that kind of stuff. I wasn't sure how to explain to them, so that's why during the kickoff meeting, I kind of invited everyone to kind of hear it, to take the information in, to be able to ask some questions, to see if this is kind of like a good fit, maybe for them as a board member or as a facilities committee member. And then one of the questions that was brought up would be, what would be the thoughts on, with two separate projects going on, maybe not simultaneously, but will be going on here in the very future with the stadium, and then also the K-5 building. Would it be possible to try to incorporate a core team, maybe a board member or two, and then some committee facility members on stadium project, and maybe having some different people involved with the K-5, because one may be finishing up when another one starts. Sure. Kind of what we talked about.
Sure, yeah.
That kind of some of the questions that we had.
So kind of that, you're asking the dynamic on,
Yeah.
from the owner's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had owners, school districts where they like to have a core team involved that's continuously there with being informed and giving feedback. And that's certainly something that's important to you. We can make that work. I would just recommend that there's a person for that day-to-day contact. I've been talking with Mr. First about different things, just because daily there's things that need to be happening. So I recommend a point person. Normally I did the superintendent that we're working with, and then maybe that core team. It just depends on where we're at within the process. Maybe it's once a month, maybe there's a point in time when so many things are happening, it's every couple of weeks that core teams get together, just so that they're continually being informed, asking the questions they have. But yeah, we have that point person for the day-to-day activities. As far as splitting them in two, we could certainly do that as well. If you had a core team for the K-5 and then a separate core team for the football stadium athletic piece, we could do that as well. Maybe we set up meetings where they're back-to-back, or whatever works for you. But that would be my suggestion. The core team is certainly a good idea, just as long as we have that point person for the day-to-day stuff.
What would you expect in the core team meetings? No significant decisions would occur there, I would assume, of significant value versus it coming from the core team back to, like, for a board to approve a big change or something to that effect that we saw, like, hey, we originally pitched the buildings going here. Hey, core team, like, it can't go there. We discovered an oil field underneath the rock over here, right? And so we're recommending we drill for an oil well versus a building well, right? That information would come back and represent to the board and try and figure out the best way forward in partnership with you.
Yeah, the core team is kind of big picture, but some of those bigger decisions, like deciding the final location, that's going to be a core team. We'll bring the information to the core team, discuss it, and as a group, decide what the district wants to do. So more big picture, but also the more critical decisions that we feel like the full core team needs to have some feedback, we bring those to those meetings as well.
So why would we have both the facilities committee and the full team? Couldn't the facilities committee serve that purpose? Or what's the difference is what I'm asking?
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about a core team that is facilities that may be split into between K-5 and athletics. I wouldn't see a need for another facilities committee beyond.
I think the question is, we already have a facilities committee, which
Correct.
effectively is the court, could be the court.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
What's the difference? Why do we have two?
I wouldn't suggest having two separate. That core team, if you feel like that facilities committee you've got put together already satisfies what you want in the core team, that would work. If you feel like you need to bring additional people, like I think I saw you had representative from athletics. I don't know if person is on your facilities. Who else you have on there, but maybe you feel like you need to pull some others in.
The biggest issue with the facilities committee versus the core team is that the facilities committee has 3 board members, so therefore it has to be an official board meeting every time we met. Which is the idea behind not having 2 board members and then 2 committee members, facilities committee members, so we're only having to call a special meeting every time we have a meeting.
So when we do normally see 2 board members, not more than 2 board members for that area. Gives you more flexibility in the meeting.
I think on an ongoing, maybe just to clarify a little bit, on an ongoing basis, from the time, we constantly do that review or define either issues or features that we would have. You'll have some representation coming from OFCC. We listed Chris Lyle from Resource International. The RPC that was here was Valerie. Chris is with the same firm, and so he kind of manages that side of it. Typically a lot of times the core team and the facilities group are intermingled and it gets confusing. A lot of times core meetings end up being either something that has to be done based on OCC recommendations. Get ready, you have to have a board resolution in 2 months to approve schematic construction. Budget is here, we've got estimates here, so we're kind of talking through those kinds of issues. The facilities group, what we try to do from our side is also meet with you on a regular basis with the facilities group, and that's who you pick. So if you've got 3 board members, you are making board meetings, and we'll do that. Most often, we see probably 2 board members that are there, whether they rotate on a meeting basis or not. But that does make it a little bit easier. Particularly the superintendent, treasurer, somebody from facilities, education director, and principals. So really, you have on that facilities group members at large. So trying to keep you informed as to how to progress is kind of like one avenue, and then parallel to that is the official court and decision makers that are involved, and that's typically where OCC group who we represent. Maybe not at every meeting, but get a big review. And then all of that information comes back, obviously, to the board, prepares you for a certain board resolution.
And
Sounds complicated, it really isn't, but it does intermingle, and it's nice to have good separation. A lot of times when you get all the professionals together, and we're in a group, and we're in a meeting, and it's a 2-hour meeting. That large group is there, and those meetings really stretch out a big deal. So it's kind of more direct. This is what things have to be done in this successive point versus meeting with facilities group where it's a little more formal, where you sit down and say, hey, what color do you want some rooms? What we're looking at, security issues and how would we define that in? What do you have, we getting feedback from that?
Okay.
So that clarifies it.
It does a little bit. So, just so you know, when the facilities committee was set up, it was set up such that, well, originally we put a bunch of members on it and then kind of stepped back from that and said we would pull those people in as needed because they didn't want to come to every meeting. I think we had maintenance guy on there at the beginning and a technology guy. So we stepped back from that, so it was going to be on an as-needed basis that those people would join. So let me ask one other question. So for the core team, is there an agenda and published minutes and what is it? Does it follow sunshine laws? What's the process?
But from your side, I would imagine you would follow sunshine law with the board members. Our side of it, it's, the minutes are taken. Typically the project manager, which would be Laura, leads that. So from day one, the first meeting, we start with agendas and we talk about the discussion points. The next meeting, we take that same amount of information and now update it. Third meeting, same, update. By the time we get through, the documentation starts to go. So it keeps this ongoing historic record of everything that was discussed, so we can go back and look at it, and decisions made. It just involved.
And so you were describing a little bit about saying, well, you wouldn't pick the colors in a core team, you'd take that to the facility committee and to the community ultimately, right? So what kind of things do happen then and what's the core team meeting? What kind of things would be discussed in there?
That's project status, where we're at with the project, and it's always budget and schedule. So where are we at in the project? What's the status of the design or construction? Where are we standing on budget? Are there any budget issues, anything that needs discussion there? Where are we at with schedule? What's the next thing on the schedule? Are we on track? Those are the main things. We're talking status, where we're at budget, where we're at schedule. That's a true core team. They usually meet once a month. And when you get into, those really start once you get, you go the CMR route, which is what your plan is. They're involved, and that's whenever you start the core teams. You want the CMR there, you want your donors people there, the architect, possibly some sort of VOC representation.
Thank you.
By the way, we're very excited.
Yes.
You decided to have us join your projects, and we really look forward to that. And I think we're just recently had kind of lined up some dates and times that we'll get together and meet with all of you and kind of get everybody introduced and kind of go through the future meeting kind of agendas. What we'll be discussing. Yeah, as we mentioned previously, our kickoff meeting will be on September 22nd at 6:00 p.m. here in the high school media center. We'll also make it available on our school YouTube channel via Zoom for folks to tune in.
All right, so with that, we have a motion to approve Darby Miller Architects for the design of the K-5 building athletic complex pending contractual agreement.
This is Lori. I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie, for the second. Any further discussion? Gotta be faster on that mute button, Lotto.
I do.
Any further discussion? I'd say that we're excited as well. I think our entire community is excited for what we're about to do for our school district and what we're about to do for our facilities to educate our kids. We're excited to be your partner, and we're looking forward to our future progress. Thank you.
And thanks to the people who sat through the selection process, and especially some of the community members who showed up and hung out with us for a
Yes.
long session.
Yeah, well, that was a long session, but it's been a long time coming to that point. So the facilities committee, with a lot of the volunteers and extra time and hours to get us to where we're at today, has been paramount to our success. So,
And you'll know the work's just beginning, right?
yeah. Yes. All right. Bring it to call the vote.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you to the board. We do appreciate
All right. Now, not skipping over anything. Number 12, board items. The first up is the approval of the resolution to accept the master facilities plan for the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program. This is in regards to what we have stated. We are building a K-5 facility and an athletic stadium. Do we have a motion?
This is Lida. I'll move.
Okay, Lida? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Danny, for the second. Discussion?
I have some discussion. So, I've been pushing pretty hard to, so let me just say it this way. I believe personally, due to our recent growth trends and the process that we're going to use to house the students once the school opens, because we're going to have growth then before the next school opens, so how that's going to work. My belief was that we should have probably started with a high school rather than an elementary building. But I 100% believe that we should not be going to the community at this time to fund this building, especially since the community funded 100% the last building. So since the numbers don't support starting with a high school, we start with the elementary school. So I just want everybody to know that I support this, even though, based on, I'm a numbers person. So based on the numbers, I wish we could have gone with high school, but I'm good with the elementary, the K-5 in phase 1.
Okay.
That's my decision.
Thank you, Julie. Any other discussion? Brent, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam.
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next up, Brent, you going to open up that resolution? This one is going to be for the intent of the Expedited Local Partnership Program requires a $500,000 maintenance requirement. We have 3 options. One is that we have passed the $500,000 levy. The second one was we're going to assign permanent improvement tax dollars already to cover that up to that $500,000. And the third option is allow school districts that can delay the $500,000 maintenance requirement until the participation in the CFAP. So that's probably going to be 6 years from now to get into that program at best. So, question I have, Brennan and Justin, what is your recommendation? We know number one's not there. We're not going to pass a $500,000 levy. So,
Brennan, I'd defer to you on this one.
I said to delay it.
say we intend to delay it until we get into the CFAP.
Yep.
I thought that made sense to me, but I was going to wait for your expert opinion.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware, Brennan, can you clarify, we already have 2 inside mills and 2 voted on mills that we will be using to eventually support this requirement, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll have to allocate it in the classroom facilities fund of 34 when we get the tax receipts. Once we start CFAP, we'll have to allocate a $500,000 towards that.
But I think it's very important to clarify to listeners, to parents, community members, we do not plan to ask for additional funds to fulfill this requirement. That's kind of a big deal.
Yes. Thank you, Ulrich. That's exactly correct that we are able to not only do the facility project and the stadium as well as the required $500,000 maintenance with dollars that we currently have without asking the community for anything, except for continued input, involvement, and support. Okay, thank you, Brandon, for pulling that up. So with that, I guess it would be a motion to approve.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So Brennan, can you just give us some comfort that, I mean, the reason for this $500,000 requirement by them is to make sure that we have money to maintain the school, correct?
Correct.
So, operating expense, does it include operating expenses or is it strictly maintenance?
It's just maintaining the building.
Okay, and then are we, okay as far as that goes for the years before CFAP starts? Because we're going to open the school in 3 years, which, as Jacob pointed out, is probably going to be 6 years, 7 years at best before we even get in the CFAP program. So are we okay for that time? Would we have the funding to maintain the school?
Yeah, like Mr. Sebastian said, we have a voted 2 mil levy, and then we have inside PI levy of 2 mils. So we have 4 mils that are from our property tax receipts that are allocated for the maintaining of buildings, equipment, and whatnot within the school district.
Okay, and then the follow-up to that would be, what's the benefit? Like, why would you make the recommendation to delay it? What's the benefit to doing that versus using or stating that money now is going to be that money?
It's more of a accounting thing, and you don't need to dedicate your proceeds when you've already got 2 PI levies that are supposed to cover your whole district. So
Okay.
since this is an L project, it will still cover the whole district.
Thank you. I just wanted everybody to understand that.
Okay.
That there's a reason.
Any further any further discussion? Excellent. So this is the Board of Education approved resolution of intent, expedited local partnership program, the $500,000 maintenance requirement, as we intend to delay the $500,000 until participation in the CFAP.
This is Lori. I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
This is Lida. I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Lida.
We waited like.
I know you did, but I figured since I did the last one, someone else would jump on it, but it's cool. I'm in there, man. I'm all in with both feet.
Okay. Any further discussion? Brennan, just call the roll, please, for the vote.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next is the expedited local partnership program project agreement. The board approves the expedited local partnership program project agreement.
That's the big one, 82 pages.
To summarize, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Brennan, is this says that we spend our funds now. Once we enter in the CFAP, we only are required to pay 20% of the total bill, 80% of the bill for all of our projects, except for locally funded initiatives we pay for by the state, FCC.
Correct. When we get in CFAP, they'll recalculate numbers based off student enrollment, update the total cost, and then it'll be split between 80 and 20. If this building that we paid is more than what our local share is, we will get a credit throughout the project. So most likely, by doing this project, when we get into CFAP, we're gonna have a credit because we'll be paying more than our local share.
Excellent. Okay.
That's on the other one. This just breaks up the full story. Yeah. If you want the number. That's how the numbers are as of right now. Yeah.
Our local share is 12,505,000.
Right.
And the state share is 50 million. As it stands right now in the scope, we all know, we believe that the scope is going to drastically change as we go between now and when the CFAP starts. with regards, because we know our enrollment numbers are going up, which will change the square footage and the size of the garden. All right, we have a motion to approve the health agreement.
I'll move.
Thank you, Julie, for the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Danny, for the second. Any further discussion? My discussion is, this is what is making this project and programs allowing us to do what we're doing. Stepping into this project now, putting the money up front so that we can build what is needed for our students and continue to build as we grow. Without doing this project first, we would still be waiting up to 10 years and have a lot more trailers sitting around the building than what we have. So this was key. I'd like to thank Justin and Brennan for all the work and getting us to this point, and all the facility committees and the board members that put in a lot of time. All right. Brennan, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Elam?
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield?
Yes.
Next up is board report, items from the board.
Appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you, Congressman.
So the facilities committee is required to give a summary to the board after every meeting, which coincidentally is right before this one, so it works out pretty well. So here's the summary. The items for discussion for temporary swing space. Mr. Perks gave an update saying we're finishing up some cosmetic items inside and the skirting outside, but so far everything's going well. Correct, Justin? A status update for the OFCC. Things are pretty much going on schedule now. We're to the point you just saw a bunch of resolutions get passed, so everything's going okay with that. The master facilities plan, additional future athletic considerations. So just to get some things on the list, we talked about putting cross country, a Frisbee disc golf course, a picnic area, shelter house, and a community center, and also not to lose sight of the auditorium. These are just to get on the list to talk about when we talk about future development of the land and doing a land use plan, that we don't lose sight of these. And for the building athletic facilities locations options, we decided to basically table that until Garmin Miller does a survey and some borings and such. The next steps would be the recommendation to the board to hire Garmin Miller, and that there will be the kickoff meeting on September 22nd at 6 p.m. The next meeting will be October 12th at 5 p.m., which is directly in front of the next board meeting.
All right. Any other items from the board to be brought forward?
Yeah, I had a couple. I missed the discussion items earlier, but I also wanted to thank Mr. Barrett Swope and the guidance counselors for all their work with the flight school. I think that peer interaction is so important. And I also want to mention to parents and community members who are listening, the board and the administration has made a commitment. We've hired 2 social emotional wellness counselors, and especially for middle schoolers and high schoolers. You know, if there's a problem going on, please get in touch with Mrs. Henderson. She's got a variety of ways. She's been into all the middle school classrooms. And I just, you know, especially this is a pandemic, there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of other issues going on. Please don't be afraid to use those resources to help your child or other children get the help they need.
Great point, Lori. Thank you. Anything else?
And I would just ask Justin if at some point, maybe the Mrs. Henderson and Mrs. Davidson would be willing to come in and give a board presentation during a board meeting. I think that would be really eye-opening to us and to maybe some of the community members.
Yeah, that's the plan here, starting in the next school board meeting moving forward, is we'll continue to have regular updates from supervisors in specific areas. And actually, my plan is to start with some of the departments that we had planned on having in the spring and we missed because of COVID. So social emotional wellness counselors would be on that agenda as far as getting an update from them. And then we'll continue to get updates from other various departments as well.
Okay, anything else? All right. Next is the hearing of the BEA president.
All right. Wanted to thank the board and Mr. First for helping me with the MOU. Yearbook is up and running. And the student council has decided to order crowns. I have to use the Burger King crowns. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. The main thing is we've only been in school less than a month, but I can't tell you how awesome it is to see them in 2D. So I want to thank the administrators and fellow teachers. It's been difficult, cleaning and trying to social distance, but it's so great to see the guys smile. It really is. So I'm happy that we're in person, and I'm happy that we're trucking along every day. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Next up would be hearing of the public.
I have one, Mr. King, from Ms. Jennifer Bass.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I'm here to discuss Steve Carroll. I know I sent an email out to everyone on the board. Ms. Sebastian, I apologize, yours came back undelivered, but I'm happy to read my email. For those that don't know, a little over 2 weeks ago, Steve Carroll had posted on Facebook, and it was a Blue Lives Matter. I'm assuming in regards to his brother, who's a police officer, which I'm very respectful of. No questions there. He became in a heated argument of sorts on social media, where he ended that argument saying, Black Lives Matter. I could be a little sensitive to the subject. I do have 2 biracial kids. My husband is Black. But more importantly, I don't see that as a political issue. I see it as a humanity issue. I have the screenshot. I'm happy to share that if I need to. Looking back through Steve Carroll's Facebook and other subsequent posts before he took down his full page about Black Lives Matter being a terrorist group. There were some other questionable things that weren't quite in that realm. So 2 weeks ago on a Monday, my husband received a text letting us know about this. We were also informed that 2 of our assistant coaches stepped down from their positions and walked away, declining to work with Mr. Farrell. My son and 3 of his teammates stepped down from the football team and walked away, refusing to work under Mr. Farrell as his coach. My husband and I have either been at this school every day, or we've been on the phone every day. I get it. I understand confidentiality, and I want to understand that aspect. But this is my kid. I entrust him in this school, in this district. His safety, his emotional, his physical well-being, those are all very important. And though Mr. Firks has been completely sweet and very helpful, the AD has been nice, Mr. Schools has been nice, that's not a concern. My concern is the lack of transparency. Every time I kind of came in or had a discussion, I was met with, well, that's up to the board, which I get. But this happened Monday evening. He had a discussion with his team, and he did apologize, not for what he said, but for putting it on social media. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. He said he was very sorry for putting that on social media. I have a problem with that apology, I'll be honest. I assumed that he would have been suspended, so there could have been an investigation. As a parent, that's where I saw it going. Wednesday, I had a call from my son asking me to pick him up. He didn't want to stay after school for practice. Not a problem. That was also the same day that Spirit Wear came in. So I showed up. I spoke with Coach Brown for a moment. And then Coach Farrell comes out to say hello to me. Like nothing is remotely wrong. I'm very dismayed that we didn't have him take a step back to look into this. Not just for my kids, not just for the kids on the football team, but he's a teacher here, right? He's our social media or media librarian.
he doesn't have access to just football players. He is a mentor to all of our kids. I don't care that he has a problem with maybe the momentum or the movement of the Black Lives Matter, but the first three key words are pretty important here, right? It's not just white folks that matter. It's not just brown folks that matter. It should be everyone. Everyone matters. Everyone's life is valid and important. And my son feels like his coach said that his life didn't matter. No apology will change that, because his apology was, I should not have posted that on social media. It's not that he's sorry he said it. It's not that he's sorry he felt that way. And for those that don't know, the one coach who stepped down is a retired police officer. He had a valid problem with that statement. My son is 15. He should not have to make this stand. His teacher, his board of education, his superintendent, his athletic director, his principal should be making that stand on his behalf. A 15-year-old shouldn't have to stand there on his own. I've put in a call to the AD. We're turning in his equipment, because as of Saturday morning, there was an email that came out that said after a 2-week suspension, Mr. Farrell was fully reinstated as he went under some diversity training of some sort. He was not suspended for 2 weeks. His suspension wasn't announced until 4 days after the school was notified of his Facebook post. He was suspended less than 10 days, and from football only. He still showed up to work. He still interacted with all of our kids. I find that shameful. I am 100% behind our district, and I have been. My husband coached not one, but 2 teams. He's been here day in and day out as needed for any kid. Coming in and knowing that we weren't very diverse, we were aware of. We knew that there would be some growing pains, but we knew that we were building and we were getting bigger. And I felt very uplifted knowing that we were going to change and there would be some improvement here. But I'm sure y'all know this isn't the easiest place to kind of fit into. There's an old Bethel, there's a new Bethel, and it is really hard to kind of get accepted, so to speak, in this area. It is quite the hurdle. So you jump through these hurdles and you show up to everything and you fundraise your butt off. Your kid makes the top number for everything, so you're doing something for the school. And you have team dinners at your house and you take food and you do the scorebook for almost the whole entire volleyball season. You jump through these hoops so you're that good parent and you're trying to be there and you're trying to show that you're there for your community. And I feel like our community has let us down. I don't even know if my son's coming to Bethel next year. This is a big deal. This is not something that should have been just nodded away. We had a family parent meeting for football families last Saturday. Do you know half the parents had no clue why they were even there? And it was only the AD and Mr. Farrell. Superintendent wasn't there, the board wasn't there, the principal wasn't there. There were a lot of moving discussions, but no one was there to understand the hurt and the frustration. As of this evening, there's 2 kids that we've lost, my son and his friend Eli, from the football team. I have a freshman who started varsity. He would have lettered this year. That's a big deal to him. Could he have gone back and played football under Mr. Farrell? Probably. That is his dream. He loves football. That's all he wants to do. We were behind him 100%. But he said to me specifically that he doesn't feel comfortable with Mr. Farrell and he can't trust him. He doesn't feel that he can trust him with his well-being. That's a big deal. Why would you go on the field for someone you can't trust? And more importantly, the fact that I feel like this was just kind of overlooked and our community nothing was discussed openly about this. Other than me pounding on the door coming in here all the time, which is embarrassing to my children, I assure you.
As the board president, I yield an additional 5 minutes to the
Thank
speaker,
you.
since our policy says you only have 5 minutes to speak.
And I'm still yammering away. I appreciate that. I just feel that a little bit more transparency. I appreciate that Mr. Farrell should have some privacy and confidentiality, and I understand that. As far as contracts go for teachers, I know that there's usually ethics and moral clauses. I know that there's some gray area with the social media clause. I work for a very large hospital, and I assure you, I would have been fired already had I posted that on Facebook. Not even a second guess. Why couldn't we have made the appropriate step to pull him back, to look into it, to be open and honest with our community, to garner some support or feedback, and make this a great stand, not against Mr. Farrell, but for our community. We're building, we're diversifying. Do you think people want to come here if they think it's okay to say those kind of things and you support that teacher? And it doesn't seem like a whole lot's done after a 9-day pseudo suspension from football only? I wouldn't. My son doesn't want to go to football. He wanted to come home today from school after being here for an hour. I had to take him out last week because he was upset. He's either had a headache, he's been so stressed out and anxious, he's been throwing up, he's had stomach ache. No, he's not ill. We have no other symptoms. There's no contact. Everything's fine. But this is really tearing him up. This is his personal, emotional, and physical well-being. And I feel like that's not being noted by our schools. And it's not just my kids. This has to be affecting other players. And I know that there were other things that were brought from the coach and from some athletes with other concerns about Mr. Farrell. I'm not even sure those were looked into because we're not discussing anything. I mean, I bet I can ask here if anyone's even aware of this happening. And I would probably have a few blank stares. This is a concern. Where is our community? Where is our, where's our humanity? Where's our caring? Why aren't we better than this? Why aren't we showing that, yes, everyone's lives matter and we stand together for this when it can be something that's a good thing for our community and not a negative thing? Something needs to be done, one way or another. Something needs to be done. Acknowledgement. I'll be honest, I don't think Mr. Farrell should be employed here, but that's my personal opinion, and it's probably an emotional opinion. I don't think he should be coaching any youth. I don't think he should be mentoring anyone's kid, certainly not mine. But moving forward, I don't know if Mr. Farrell is going to be here next year. That may not be a decision, but we had 4 assistant coaches. We had 1 head coach. We now have a head coach that a lot of those kids may not respect as they did before this. And we've lost 2 assistant coaches. We're not winning a season. We didn't win a season last year. Having 1 or 2 wins doesn't make us a winning season. We need to build, and it's not about winning, but what about building these kids up, giving them something we're striving for, not being, we won a game, we did whatever. We see these other schools that have multiple assistant coaches on the sidelines. They are well dynamic and well versed. We are not those people. We are not even remotely close to those people. I'm not good at football. I can tell you that my son stood on the sidelines for our last game. We ran the same 5 plays the whole game. I can tell you that from knowing nothing about football other than being a darn good Girl Scout. I could see the lineup each and every single time. We were kicking butt the first 2 minutes, and then we fell apart because they knew where we were going every time. 2 men can't do the team all by themselves. But if you're bringing someone back who can't commandeer those kids' respect and their trust, then where in the world are we going to go? How are these kids going to have that basis and that backbone that they need to thrive and do better? My husband played football through high school and college. He still can tell you every coach he's ever had. He still speaks to a lot of his coaches. He built relationships off of that. That's what drove him to college. Are we going to do that here for kids? I don't know.
What are you going to give us an opportunity to respond, or just...
Oh, no, please.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like to say is that once we were notified that anything did happen, action was taken. It may not have been to the action level that you felt like it should have been, but there was action taken in regards to reviewing our policies. I know that the AD was engaged as well as the principal and the superintendent immediately. We were notified of the incident as a board, that it had occurred. The problem that we're faced with, right, it depends on how the conversation went. For an example, right, back in 2012, the hashtag Black Lives Matter was started based on a Ferguson incident that occurred in Missouri. It was only a hashtag. Two women, right, got together and created an organization, a socialist actual organization, under the Black Lives Matter name, right? And so a lot of times, and that organization is considered a social organization, not considered an actual organization, based on what I read in law. So none of those fall in line with the criteria of discrimination with regards to age, sex, religion, orientation, or color, with regards to the law, where we have our capabilities to take significant action with regards to incidents that would occur that is based on actual law, for that example, for this case specifically. So he spoke out against a name, right?
That's what I'm assuming.
A name. That's the only thing I can do at this point, right? Is a name, because all we could do is see. We weren't part of the conversation, and I only saw a little snippet of that. Our social media policy did not, and still does not address comments with regards to school employees, and their social media. That falls in line with the movement associated with Black Lives Matter. So we don't have policy to back up actions to be able to just fire somebody or immediately suspend somebody. So what it took was analysis, best we could, come up with some type of process, submit to our legal team, and our legal advisor then finally gave us the approval to take further action. But we couldn't just take action on our own. So we run the risk, right? Anything we do, we run the risk of being sued by you as a parent. We run the risk of being sued by another family on the football team, to the individual employee suing us as well for unrightful punishment and loss of any type of wages or inability to gain a different job. That's from that example. So that's why we take everything through our legal and then come back out with something that at least our legal team will stand behind and represent in court if we have to go there. So we utilize that significantly, right? Because we all have our own opinions. But for us as a board, as a group, holistically, it's our legal advisor that helps drive those conversations from that aspect. That's why nothing happened instantly, other than action did take it with conversations, what needs to be done, what information do we need to gather to add to our information that we send to our legal advisor. So from that aspect. We finally got approval for the suspension, the 2-game suspension with regards to the coaching from our legal advisor, saying that he could defend that because of the nuances of that, of the group that I spoke of, that it wasn't recognized by law. Doesn't mean it's not recognized individually by us, and individually by people. The biggest thing that we have taken, at least that I've recognized, and the board I know as well, is that our social media policy is very weak and outdated. We believe it was originally written in 2008, and it was revised in 2012 is when we looked it up. So immediately when this happened, we went straight to the policy, right? So we have a number of policies that outline those pieces. It was last updated and revised in 2012 when Instagram, none of those existed other than, I think, Facebook and Twitter. Maybe the old ones were around when that happened. So what we've requested is for an updated social media policy to include training for all the staff members with regards to social media. It only covers one aspect of this point, and it doesn't cover the human aspect, right? for the diversity training. So one of the things that we recommended was that we mandated that he must take a diversity and inclusion classes. He took 2 classes he's taking 2 classes. They're 9 weeks each, I believe, 9 weeks total. That are both approved and recommended by the NAACP for that aspect. It also is brought out from our perspective, as well as trying to include even more diversity and inclusion training for the entire staff. And we as a board also said we wanted to take that same training if we were asking anyone in the school to take it, that we needed it as well, because diversity and inclusion is not something that is inherently learned unless you are one of the, like a minority race, minority, not just race, but minority, because it also includes not only race, right, but also includes sex and sexual orientation. So I'm trying to follow lines with the law words there from that aspect. So I know that we weren't at the meeting that the parents went to because that was an opportunity for our athletic director and coach. So we live by the terms of starting at the lowest level and working up to the board. From that aspect, we know that our athletic director owns it, as well as Coach Farrell owns his comments, right? And so we allow them to work with their families and their students or the players to try and solve those problems at that level. And then obviously you're here, right? So I'm surprised it's you, not a lot of people. From that aspect, the other thing too is, when we have an issue, right, we love to have a teaching moment, right, so that we can all come together as a community and learn from and get more engaged in conversations, particularly resulting around diversity, right, and inclusion aspects, right, because I believe we all need a little bit anytime we can get it, just because it makes us more well-rounded humans. In my aspect, you get to hear from different perspectives, things that you would have never thought of. So, I've learned a lot where I work. We started a significant diversity and inclusion events there where we just sit down and have conversations. And I've learned significant amount personally from that aspect. We won't ever go out and tell the entire community that one of our personnel did wrong, made a mistake. We won't advertise that because we have a duty to protect the staff, and we'd also do that with the students, right? But we did put out a notice. Our way of notifying community, right, is our website. So we did put out a notice on the website that something did occur and that we were taking action as well. And I can't say that that's like we put it on a one call to everybody in the whole district, because we wouldn't normally do that. We did do more with regards to this incident than we had with many others. I shouldn't say many others. There's a few that I've seen since I've been on the board for 3 years from that aspect. We continue to revise our processes and policies because we know that they're not always hitting the mark. When it comes to the 150 something policies that the board has, we're constantly trying to review those. We pay a company to review them and keep us up to date as well. And then we take those policies and you provide daily, what is it, your administrative policies? So our administrative guidelines, so our policies drive administrative guidelines as well, which are managed from the superintendent and the principal. And so when we update ours, it drives theirs. And so when we drive those administrative guidelines, then education is required as well, right, with the staff survey calls. From that. Now, with the next piece, The reason it was football and he still maintained his other job, because it was looked at as a football head coach. He was specifically in charge of interacting, educating, and placing his philosophies on students as the football coach. In the media center coordinator, there's no instruction, teaching, or pursuing philosophies with regards to students versus maintaining an orderly room, if that makes kind of laid out simplistically. But that was that delineation, was he didn't have direct involvement in teaching and instructing in the media center. I think I've kind of round answered a lot of stuff that you had mentioned. And I would also first like to say, I'm sorry that it happened. I'm sorry for your sons, your husband, you, and anyone else in the district, right? There's more than just that, right? All of the people that saw that or were sent that to show that as a weakness in one of our people. We don't, I'll put myself in a legal issue here. We will continue to follow this as we proceed through the athletic year, to observe and monitor, to ensure that the core values of our school are being followed. The safety and security of all our students is our number one priority. We wrote that in our board statement. We've written that in our strategic plan, and we speak about it often, and we try to design buildings. Everything we do that is the number one thing that is at the forefront of 90% of what we do, is in regards to the safety and security of our students. And that also means, safety and security also means social and emotional wellness as well, right? That's part of safety, right? You're in a safe environment, but you want to feel safe. But I apologize to you personally, from Jacob King, that your family's having nothing to do with it. We have stated internally this event doesn't fall in line with our guidelines from our guiding principles here as a board, what we have stated to our community, students, and staff, that those views were in alignment with that. Aspect.
I will say having a more diverse staff or trying to get a more diverse staff would be a step in the right direction when you're looking at hiring further. We're pretty pale out here. You know, there's not a whole lot going on. And I think that will help out, in my opinion, families coming into the neighborhood. I've got a pretty awesome neighborhood, so Mr. Mills and Dexter Valley, 2 doors down. But it would be nice to see more diversity physically in the schools, where you have kids that are coming in from outlying areas that see someone that may possibly look like them. And I will tell you, and I nothing against the AD, but that Saturday morning meeting, one of his first sentences for the 10 a.m. meeting was, hey, let's try to keep on topic here. I have an 11 o'clock Glory appointment. Holy guacamole, did that not start things off right. You already had a lot of kids and parents who were questioning what was going on. You had a few dads who just were staring at us and having no idea why there was frustration because they didn't know what was happening. Granted, I'm sure their kids did not go home and relay the information from that meeting with Mr. Carroll. I appreciate the insight as far as why and what steps were taken. I don't have to agree with them, that's for sure. What I would say is moving forward, whether or not Mr. Farrell is coaching next year will truly drive where my son's going to school, because he wants to play football. And he will not step on that field for Mr. Farrell. He's made that very clear to my husband and myself. We plan on turning in his equipment, but my son said that it's important, though he doesn't want to play under Mr. Farrell, that he still be there for his teammates. He still wants to show up to those games. I'm hoping that that will not be of an issue. that he can still be there, still cheer them on, still support them, even though he's not actively playing, just because there's that like limit of tickets and who can go and so on and so forth, moving forward.
I don't know if we'll be able to make it into the stadium. I think I'll leave that to Mr. Perks and the AD to work on with you with regards to that. But we do have those set mandated rules, how many can come in, and it has to be associated with a player or band member or cheerleader is the only people allowed in for in our stadium, just because it's so small right now.
Right.
Next year, hopefully, we won't have COVID and we'll have a bigger stadium, so it wouldn't matter. So there's that as well. But you can always, no matter what, you can always come to by the fence in front of it and root on as well. I know it doesn't mean the same. It's not the same. I understand what he's wanting to do as well. So they'll be able to figure out if those capabilities. Somebody's got to have 2 kids on the team, or one parent can't make it. Kind of a thing going on.
Well, and if those tickets were already allocated to those kids and families, and they're stepping back, that'll allow the space for that to still happen. And we can play that by ear.
Yeah, because I think now we don't have enough. If every student has 2 parents show up, now we're exceeding our capacity.
Okay.
With all of them. So there's that problem we have as well. And I know we have that dealing with this particular case. I know that if we immediately come out and say yes, right, then somebody will be here like, some this really great reason why their parents should be there, or their grandparents should be there as well from that aspect. So I would allow them to answer that based on the capacity and capability per game.
Okay.
For that aspect.
Well, I know his thing is he's not leaving his team, he's leaving Mr. Farrell, so he still wants to be there to support, so we'll figure that out. All right. Thank you for listening to me.
Yes, thank you. Any other, do you have anything on YouTube or anything? No. All right. Thank you again for coming in and speaking with us. This is the greatest way for us to communicate with a parent or a student that has issues that have worked their way through the school. I thank you for working through the process, trying to solve all those issues right at the local level. And I'm sorry that they couldn't be solved, but this is I think a very big, very different kind of problem to solve.
That's very true. Mrs. Montgomery was just saying, every time we walk through the door, I can't thank her enough. I feel bad that she knows my face at this point, even with the face mask on. But I appreciate her. She was awesome.
Thank you. All right, moving to item 16, executive session. Does anybody have a need for executive session? I know we have one to discuss employment and one to discuss contract. That's still under employment. No, yeah. Number one should cover both. Okay. Anything else from the group? Okay. At this time, I don't believe decision we made. What are you thinking? Okay. At this point, there is no projected decision to be made after executive session. At this time, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
This is Lori Ullman.
Thank you, Lori. Second by Danny.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Brandon, could you call the vote?
Ms. Sebastian?
Yes.
Mr. Elam?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mansfield?
Yes.
All right. Time into executive session is 9:35 p.m.